know in time. And the Marine Corps even has that required reading list for each rank. Every time you get promoted, another reading list. And so you recognize that other men and women have successfully or unsuccessfully dealt with similar problems. So it won't always give you the answer, but it will certainly give you a lot of questions to ask yourself when you go into some challenge. And I think it's probably best explained by when I was a one-star. Right after 9/11, I was sent into 5th Fleet headquarters out in the Persian Gulf. And about midnight one night, I got a phone call to come in to see the Admiral. The fleet commander's a 3-star, I'm a 1-star. And the Admiral had done his homework, and he's got a map, and he said, the enemy's going to lose Mazar-e-Sharif. The Army Green Berets, the CIA, the Northern Alliance, they've got him on the run. They're going to fall back on Kabul. And I still remember he wheeled around, he looked at me, and said, no one's held Kabul in 500 years. They're going to Kandahar. And he said, can you get the Marines from the Mediterranean Fleet and the Pacific Fleet, bring them together, go 350 nautical miles in, and move against Kandahar? And I'm sitting there, and I don't have time to go do a staff study. There's no time now to go off and prepare. This is when you've got to be ready, when you get tapped on the shoulder. And he's looking at me. And very quickly, I'm thinking about planes, Marine KC-130s command on dirt strips, and I've got the MEU that's coming, the Marine Expeditionary Unit, and they've got air refuelable helicopters. I've seen these Marines, I certified them before I left California, so I know they're capable, and I'm going through all this stuff real quickly. And I said, yep, I can do it, I've got to go look at it. And he said, okay, I'll give you an anti-submarine plane, you go look at it. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking of the U.S. Army's cavalry raid in the Civil War. And then I'm thinking about how the U.S. cavalry fought against Geronimo on the southwest border. I'm thinking about the British general who ran an entire division in Burma against the Japanese in World War II and resupplied completely by air, because that's how it had reason. All this is going on. And so you don't have time then to start going off and saying, I'd better do some studying about this. So if when you walk into a new company, the first thing you do is every night for the first 30 days, you take a different company policy or a different mission statement or a different piece of the company. You take it home and you study that stuff. You could very quickly start becoming someone who's additive to the process. Because what we needed to do right then was we needed to show the world we were going on the offense on this thing, and it wouldn't just be pressing from the north and that sort of thing. We were going to tear the heart out of them in Kandahar. And so we did. So I'm up circling in an airplane, a P-3, beautiful airplane, by the way, telescopes and everything. And I'm circling. Now I'm going to tell you, you all take notes, how to make a 4-star general. Fight enemy generals dumber than a bucket of rocks. Okay? And I'm up there, and I can see the fighting up north and fighting northeast. Here's this big dark area south of Kandahar. I'm looking through the telescope, and as clearly as I can see you, I'm smiling. And I didn't care how short they cut their hair. I didn't care how fast they ran 3 miles. I didn't care how many tanks they had. My only concern was how many lads was I going to lose, because I knew I was going to beat them. As soon as I saw they left the back door open. It was that simple. So at times you'll have a degree of confidence if you do this reading, if you read biographies so that you know other men and women had the same doubts you had as they went into a brawl, as they went into this question about how to lead. You're going to reorganize your unit, you're going to change your priorities, and that sort of thing. I think too that as you look at something like this, you've got to know what role you want to play. What do you want to do? I remember during the invasion, now a 2-star, a year later, we're invading Iraq, and I kept the pictures of the enemy generals. I was up there, there were 5 of them that my division had to deal with, 5 different divisions. And I kept their pictures on my desk, so I'd always be thinking, now what kind of mischief are these guys doing? And from my reading, I had an idea of what kind of mischief they could do, because I'd read about some other general that was some sneaky trick. And if nothing else, I could just look at their picture and say, well, at least I'm better looking than these guys. But my yourself in a humbling position where you don't think something is all about you, it started with you, or something like that. That's just not happening. A couple of books. One, if you want to remember what it's like to be one of the young guys going into the brawl, Mark Trainor's book called A Quiet Cadence will keep you from ever getting to the point where you're distant from those young folks who are going to step across the line of departure and actually come face to face in what we call intimate killing with the enemy. Mark Trainor, he was a Vietnam veteran, wrote it, lives up in Annapolis, he's a lawyer now, but he wrote it from the point of view of a Lance Corporal in the Marine Infantry in Vietnam. And it's a book that really says something, including about the coming home. It's called A Quiet Cadence. There's a young Texan named Ryan Holiday down in Texas. He's written a book called, he's got a podcast, The Daily Stoic. He's got a book out called The Obstacle is the Way. If you read that thing, you'll all read it in 2 nights. I love the book. I just reread it here a couple days ago. It'll change your view of obstacles where you actually embrace them. And that's how you actually build the kind of courage Frank was just talking about. It's the obstacles that allow you to do it. And today you're in a society that's much tougher to lead in than when I was growing up, because cynicism and victimhood are so celebrated today. And you've got to see these as just cop-outs. And this book will put it, Ryan Holiday's book will put it in that kind of framework. There's another one by a gentleman who just passed away, Joel Peterson. When you all remember how JetBlue came on the scene and kind of upended air travel in our country, making it actually cheaper and that sort of thing. He was the CEO who did it. He's got a book called The 10 Laws of Trust. And why is that important? Because, my fine young folks, trust is the coin of the realm in everything to do with human endeavors. With it in the room, you can do just about anything. Without it in the room, things get brittle, formalistic. You can't do much. And it teaches you how you can actually enhance trust and distribute it throughout an organization in a way that everyone feels like they can trust each other, trust the people above them, trust that their peers are going to do the right thing. How do you reward trust so that that's what you're getting is the behavior you reward? So I look at those 3 books, Frank, as the best 3 for that sort of thing.
Well, General, I have one final question about